Okay, so what I've got here is, in order to get this angle and then the offset, because the center point is not going to go to the center of the hip, so we know that already. And then as well as down here, see, that's the center of the hip. It's not going to be in the corner, so this would be a fascia going that way, and they're gonna, so the fascia meets here, they butt into each other, and the hip is going to plane in to this corner and go up, and then it's going to plane into the center up here. So how would we determine all this stuff? Best way I can figure it out to do it with just a regular calculator is we have to get these angles here, which we would determine by the thickness of the stock. And so, I mean, you'd have to imagine you're pulling these measurements here, this little measurement right here. You're pulling that on one side of your, you know, if you were laying this out on the sawhorses, and you pull that measurement back, and then you pull this one, and of course that would be on the plumb line. Then from there, we'd calculate this diagonal using the stock thickness right here. So the dotted line would represent the stock. And once we have a ratio, we're going to know the ratio being the rise and the rise and the run, and then that would give us our factor or a ratio, and then we would apply it to the diagonal here, as well as on this side. Now we have basically a rise here, and then we can apply that to get this diagonal. And then so from that point, we add these two together and pull this one down to get this point, and then this one to get this point, because we're going to go take this run and then add it, or this run, and add it to this diagonal, and that's going to give us the point where we're going to make. So now I can pretty much erase this. Well, I don't want to erase that. I want to show it like it's a piece of board on the sawhorses. So I've got, I've got my board here. That's just showing the center line for referencing. And imagine this little piece is still there. So I'd pull and I have a point here, and I'm going to know what my angle is. I'm going to know what my hip plumb cut's going to be, so I can draw that on the side. So if this was sitting up on edge and I turned it over, I'd put my, I'd draw my plumb cut. And so then we would have this angle here, and we could figure out how we would, determine the angle, later. But as far as right now is just to say what was the starting point that I would mark on the edge of the board. And this is a little piece right here that you're going to get in order for it to plane in where you don't have the shoulder of the board sticking over the side of the commons. So however you cut this, beam saw, whatever it is, you but at least it'll be marked. I mean, I would say unless this was like an LVL, you could probably just hand cut it with a saw. Probably the easiest way would be to find the angle of this one, cut that down, and then turn around and run the saw flat on top of this one. That works pretty good. But either way, the point is to get this point right here and this point, so that way you can mark and lay out your board. However you cut it is inconsequential. The point is to be able to calculate those two spots. And then of course this one, since this one here you're deducting for the full fascia, 1.5 inches, or an 1.5 inches for the fascia. But up here, whatever it is, if this was an LVL ridge, obviously this would be wider here. I would always say to run this and make it into a single cheat cut, because you can get good nails into the side. Now right here where it's this common, whatever this length is, I would extend the ridge out to this point, but this here, this point to this point would be cut on the pitch of this roof, and that would allow you to get this the ridge would come all the way to here. It would come to here, and then it would turn into common right here and go down. But so the common is just going to be nailed into the ridge, which I don't see that as an issue. I'd rather get good nails into the side of this than have this come, this common meet all the way up here, because it's hard to nail in here. I would rather get good attachment to the ridge. And plus, I would rather set these hips first, set these to the ridge with good nails, and then go set the other side. Now I have my framework for the entire hip roof.